Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Daytime Looker podcast. I'm your host, Testy McNasty. With me is Strangers with Candy.
Hey.
Everybody give it up, Strangers with Candy. We always start this podcast off with a toast. Today's toast. And if you don't have a glass, please pause this video and go pour yourself an alcoholic beverage and come back. Now that you're back. Courage is knowing it might hurt and doing it anyway. Unfortunately, stupidity is the exact same thing, and that is why life is so hard. Cheers.
Cheers. Ain't that the truth?
It is the truth. Today's episode is called CIA Shenanigans because the next time somebody tells you the government wouldn't do that, oh yes they would. Hey Candy.
Yes.
Did you know that in 2006 the CIA airdropped a few hundred Osama bin Laden action figures over Pakistan?
Really?
The point, yeah, really. The point was they were hoping that the kids would pick them up and play with them, and if you left the doll out in the sun, it was designed to where the top layer of the face would melt away, revealing a demon face beneath it. And they knew that the people of Pakistan were very religious and very superstitious. And they hoped that the parents, when they picked up the dolls, would freak out and confidence in Osama bin Laden would plummet because everybody would think he was demonic. And it was designed by Donald Levine, who is the father of the G.I. Joe, the original one, the tall one, that you could change their outfits. Not the 90s one where it was, or the 80s one that was that big and you just put guns in its little kung fu grip.
I don't remember him.
You don't remember those?
Not the little one. I only remember the big one, but I'm old. So.
Hey,
And I'm
Candy.
not a boy.
You're not a boy?
I'm not a boy.
Well, I think the whole G.I. Joe thing was that they knew that they were making money not off the Barbies, but off the Barbies' clothes. So they made a G.I. Joe doll action figure, because it wasn't a doll, it was an action figure. And you could buy different combat outfits for the action figure.
Oh.
And then eventually in the 80s, they shrunk it down to toy size and just you could buy different guns and vehicles for it instead.
Ah. Interesting.
And I understand you wanted to talk about a CIA listening device.
Yeah. Operation Acoustic Kitty. It was launched in 1960 to spy on the Kremlin. They were going to take a cat and do an hour-long procedure on him to put a microphone in his ear, a receiver at the base of his neck, and then a wire that went through. They spent $213 million.
Holy shit.
And some change in today's money. $20 million in 1960. That would be $213 million. $620,261.62, I do believe. Something.
Bro, I could cut open
like
a cat for a 6-pack of beer and install a listening device in it. Why are they spending $20 million?
I mean, shit. No, $213 million.
$213 million.
Yes, and so they take the cat to go do the beta testing. They let the cat out, and he gets hit by a car.
Boom.
$213 million out the window.
Under the wheel of a car. Just
Under
splat.
the wheel of the car.
That's gross.
Yes, and so, do you know, I think a drunk white girl could have done the job better. And she
I mean, I think you could have just strapped a GoPro to your cat and sent it in wherever it wanted some listening to.
Well, I think it's a cat. You can't make a cat do what a cat don't want to do. But
I agree.
You could put a drunk white girl in the park and she could pretend like she's lost, see these strange guys sitting there talking, go up to them, hey, kind sirs, but I'm lost. What are y'all talking about? She could hang around, chit-chat for a minute. I think she could have did a better job than the cats.
I agree with you 100%. I think you should have been in the CIA. You could have saved the American taxpayer $213 million.
Fun fact, when I was growing up, I wanted to be in the CIA.
Oh, shit.
I completely forgot about that until recently. It was like, holy shit. Yeah, I thought it would be interesting.
You would have served this country greatly. Hey, did you know that as an alternative to a cat, in 2015, researchers at Texas A&M University strapped a 9-volt battery to the back of a cockroach, and they put some little electrodes and plugged it into its nervous system, and then stuck a little remote control receiver to it, and they were able to control the roach's movements with a remote control. And that was 10 years ago. Do you think the technological advances today, you could shrink that 9-volt battery to like much smaller, stick a listening device on it, and that would have been a way better listening device than a cat, because the cat's gonna rub up against you and then walk away. The roach, you can send it where you want to go.
Well, Roach is going to get stepped on at my house.
That's true. The
So-
Kremlin could have been chasing her around the roach, going, "Ah, too many roaches today."
That's disturbing.
It
That
is.
I mean, really, a 9-volt battery is bigger than most roaches.
I've got a picture of it that I'll post right here,
Okay.
and it's about the same size as the roach. It's a big roach, I guess.
But the roach couldn't carry it.
No, it wasn't connected to a listening device. The roach was connected to remote control. They wanted to prove that they could stimulate the nervous system of a roach and get it to move left or move right or move front or move back. Like a toy car, but with a living roach. I don't think it lived long after the experience, but during the experiment, it was alive, I'm assuming.
Was he alive? Could they prove it?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I've already told you everything that I know about the experiment.
How much did that cost?
It was at A&M, so it was funded by a football team, not funded by...
That wasn't funded by the football team. That was funded by us. It was Texas A&M, so that's funded by our tax dollars.
Is
Our
a public...
property tax dollars, huh?
Oh, there you go. That's why they're so high. So they can remote control cockroaches.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, Candy.
Yeah.
Did you know that in 1944, the CIA was known as the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services? This was during World War II. And it was controlled by a man named Wild Bill Donovan, 1944. He distributed to his OSS agents, the precursor to the CIA, a manual called the Simple Sabotage Manual. And the agents were supposed to go over to the enemy countries during World War II and recruit private citizens to simply sabotage their nation. They did it by saying, hey, we're about to overthrow this government. If you would like some personal favors after the government is overthrown, why don't you do this kind of things for us? And they also told them a bunch of lies saying, a bunch of your neighbors are already doing these things for us. You might as well join the cause. And certain people have had very much success with these implementations. And these are the implementations that they gave them. For instance, for telephone operators, they told them to hand out wrong numbers on purpose. They would tell them to delay in putting the call through where it was supposed to be transferred. They told them to leave the line open instead of hanging up so that the line was occupied and other people could not call in. For people that would go to the movies, they told them to collect a bag full of moths and to let the moths loose in the movie theater so that they would all congregate around the projector and block the projection of the movie onto the screen.
Why?
I don't know, just to decrease overall morale of the country.
To decrease
A country with low morale is easy to conquer. If somebody was a manager, they would tell them to promote the least efficient workers and to complain loudly about the work of the most efficient workers. And they would also, every time a decision needed to be made, they would refer it to a committee. And the committee would just drag on, and nothing would ever get accomplished because everybody was sitting around waiting for the committee to review and make the decision.
Go ahead.
If the CIA was able to recruit an employee, they would advise the employee to be as clumsy and lazy as possible. They would advise them to increase the number of steps it takes to complete any job, and if they were able to recruit somebody in train or air travel, they would advise them to issue 2 tickets for 1 seat and watch as the fight emerged over that 1 seat. If any of these citizens were caught by the government, they advised them to cry and sob hysterically.
It seems like they embraced that philosophy, and here we are.
Americans embraced that entire philosophy. Now, out of our own laziness and stupidity, we've got the lowest employees already being clumsy and adding more steps to everything. And anybody that's confronted about anything seems to cry and sob hysterically.
Yes.
So I don't think a foreign government has done that. I think we've done that to ourselves with our.
Yes, our government did that to us.
Oh, the government did that to us.
Yes, our government did that to us.
To lower the morale of our own country.
We're easier to manipulate that way.
It's true.
I mean, yeah, and they've made us dependent. So.
I do suspect that a foreign country has snuck into our universities and they educated our children to believe that communism works, even though the only thing communism has ever succeeded in is killing communists through starvation.
I mean, that's not such a bad thing, though. The communists, that is.
It kills us too. It kills the rest of us too.
But I would say maybe not foreign interference, and again, maybe our own government, because a lot of this shit is happening on state universities. That's, so they're government institutions. I mean, look what's happening in our primary schools, and those are government institutions. I don't think Wang Feng, that old Swalwell, is infiltrating. I think it's us.
I think our own government is dumbing us down and making us lazy.
Yes. Yes, because if we need them instead of the other way around, then we're more willing to go along with what they want because we need them. But back in the day, we didn't need them so much. I remember a time in my life that we didn't need them so much. I still don't need them. They've never done anything for me in my life except cause problems and money. But a lot more people need them than don't. So, yes, we've done this to ourselves. And we've just put our fingers in our ears and went, la, 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 la. Why would we do that to ourselves? Ha, ha, ha. And that's because we put our faith in our leaders that they have our best interests at heart. And we need to finally wake up and realize and be fucking adults and say, you know what? They don't even fucking know us. They don't love us. I mean, I say that all the time. I don't know you. I don't love you. Why are you bothering me with this? They don't give a shit about us.
I agree with you 100%. A handful of bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. has no way of knowing the wants or needs of 350 million Americans? Is that how many we have?
Exactly.
Yeah. Only I know what I need, and only you know what you need. Some bureaucrat does not know.
My needs in my little town are different than your needs in your big city. So, needs are relative.
I agree.
But evil
almost
is not.
Isn't. What is not?
Evil.
Oh. I agree. It seems like nowadays the United States government is trying to implement communism. But back in the day, we actually fought against communism. Yes. And you've got something to say about that. What is that?
Oh, yes, with Castro. And for some reason, and I still don't really understand why. So JFK decided that he needed to win over the American people, and he was going to do that by taking out Castro. I don't know why he picked Castro. I'm sure that there were other communists at that time. Cuba was a hopping place, but, then Castro came in, which, we helped put Castro in. We spent money putting Castro in. And as soon as we put him in, we started trying to take him out. And so there were at least 8 attempts on him in a 3-year span, I do believe. One of the attempts was to spray in his broadcasting booth substance that could not be seen or tasted or whatever, but it would affect him like LSD, and he would start talking gibberish, and then the people would lose confidence in him. This seems to be a thing with these people. It's like losing confidence and your world collapses. That's, you would think that they would figure out that's really not how it works, but yeah, they thought that making him speak gibberish. I mean, look at Biden. People didn't lose confidence in him, but nobody gained any confidence in him. He spoke gibberish, and there we were, just okay. He was still president. So then they did lining his diving suit with tuberculosis, which is really, really disturbing because that would kill him. And then when the person backed out of that one, that they would lined up to do their dirty work, they were going to line his diving suit with a fungus that would just give him a nasty skin infection and make his life hell. And then there was the one where they got some powder and they were going to sprinkle it on his shoes. And I'm not really sure why the shoes in particular, but it was for the shoes to make him lose his facial hair. Because then he would not have his charismatic presence, I guess. And
how
people
would powder
would not...
on his shoes? How would powder on his shoes make his beard fall out?
The powder on his shoes. The powder was some chemical that made your body hair fall out. So I don't know if the shoes
was it on the inside of his shoes?
No, it was on the outside of his shoes. Like I said, I don't know why. I don't know why they just throw it in his face. I mean, I don't know if it wafted up. I'm not sure, but it had to go on the shoes, and it was gonna make his beard fall out. And again, whoever was going to do that chickened out. And then in 1976, President Gerald Ford had to make a law to say that we could not assassinate anymore.
So people were really obsessed with Castro's beard. And
they were.
I'm assuming that they were hoping that people would lose confidence in him once again.
Yes.
If his beard fell out.
Yes.
But even today, there's something called Facial Hair Friday, and they did a whole episode on Castro's beard, saying Fidel Castro's long and bushy beard, which he grew during his time as a guerrilla rebel fighter, became a badge of honor and later a symbol of the triumph of the revolution. Which is, I mean, he had an okay beard. I think my beard is sicker than his beard.
You're a ginger, though.
I'm a ginger. I got that cool little white stripe down the middle, and he didn't have a white stripe down the middle. But yeah, the CIA hated that beard. They were trying to get rid of that beard, thinking once the beard fell, the revolution would fall.
Yes, communism would fall. It was being held together by Castro's beard.
When I was looking up for this, I did find one assassination attempt that I found interesting. Apparently, Castro had a lot of mistresses. There was one named Marita Lorenz, who the CIA recruited, and she was supposed to put poison in his cold cream that he kept at his bedside, because apparently Castro was so vain that every night he would put cold cream on his face. What does cold cream do? It softens it. It prevents wrinkles or something. What does that do?
Hydration. Look at my face. Do I look like I wear cold cream? No.
It hydrates your face.
It hydrates. Prevents wrinkles. I don't fucking know.
I'm going to go on record saying you're not a man if you use cold cream on your face at bedtime. But then again, I have a personal bias because I hate lotions on my skin. I hate the way lotion feels on my skin.
Yes, me too. But if you're a female and you're watching and you're young, always hydrate. Hydrate. Use your lotion. Use your cold cream, because I didn't. And yeah, this is what you get. So
it prevents aging.
Yeah.
Anyway, Castro caught Marita Lorenz in the act, and he took out his gun and he handed it to her and said, "If you're gonna kill me, just do it." Wow. And she took the gun and said, "I can't do it, Fidel. I can't do it."
Because of the beard.
He's still alive, isn't he? Or did he pass away?
No, he died in like 16, I think.
And then his brother took over?
I think so. You don't hear nothing about Cuba anymore. Are they still floating over on trash?
No.
You never hear anything about them damn Cubans. The last I heard about the Cubans was they were being told by Biden they weren't real Mexicans.
What? Yeah, because they've lived through communism and they don't
Because they
want
weren't
to implement
voting
it in
for
this
him. He lost
country.
Florida.
Yeah.
So he was really confused why those Mexicans weren't voting for him in Florida.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So that's the last I've heard about the Cubans. They were
The last I heard about the Cubans is there was a TV show called Cuban Cars, because apparently in the 1950s was the last time they could import American cars. So all those classic cars are held together with duct tape and aluminum foil, and they still look really nice. But like you open it up and you look at the engine and it looks like, you know, a gerbil condominium with all these little weird tubes and weird things hooked up to it.
But Cuba is mid-century modern heaven, I would think. If you're into, I'm into mid-century modern, so I'm assuming that if you're into mid-century modern like I am, you would want to go to Cuba to go
check it all out.
glassware. Yeah, I'm sure they have some awesome glassware there.
I'm sure they do.
Like communists care about that, but they
You
are
know.
still stuck in the late 50s, early 60s.
There was a man named Joe McGonigal that served in Vietnam. Eventually, once Vietnam ended, he was stationed in Germany and he was still in charge of a unit. While there, he went to eat at a restaurant and somebody poisoned his drink. One of his fellow officers lifted up his dead body, carried him to a doctor's place, kicked the door until they opened it, and let him in to try to resuscitate his body. That whole time, Joe McGonigal claims to have had an out-of-body experience where he watched his fellow soldier lift up his dead body, load him into the car, drive him to the... It wasn't even to the hospital, it was like a doctor's house, and kick in the door. He recovered. They got him out of Germany and got him to an American hospital, and he recovered fine. But
Just like that cat?
Say that, yeah, not like the cat that got run over.
The cat
Not like
went
the
to
cat.
a farm. He went to the farm. So Joe, he went
That's
to
what
the
you
farm.
tell your kids when your cat died. Your cat didn't die. We sent him
just
to a
went the
farm. He
lived
can
a happy life.
roam. Look at all that acreage. Yeah. No. So Joe McGonigal started having uncontrolled out-of-body experiences after that. He'd just be sitting there and all of a sudden he'd be able to leave his body and look down on his body. And he wasn't trying to do it on purpose. He was just, trying to go about his daily activities, and his soul would kick out or something. In 1977, the Department of Defense recruited him into the Stargate program. And the Stargate program is a program where they were practicing remote viewing, where they would get agents to leave their bodies to go somewhere else and spy, because it's hard to spy on somebody if you have a body, but if you're going to leave the body,
They should have
it's
just
easy
got
to
some ghosts.
should have just hired some ghosts. Yes, instead they hired Joe McGonigal, and he is remote viewer 001. He has 44 on-camera demonstrations. However, only 35% of them were actually accurate. So that was 79%, which is a high C. You would pass. You would pass. But I get where the concern is, where they ask you, okay, where's the terrorist hiding? And like you go, oh, the terrorist hiding in the basement of the hospital. So you bomb the hospital and it ends up being the 20% where you're inaccurate. It's like, oops, my bad. But anyway. They trained Joe McGonigal at the Monroe Institute, which is an institute that still exists to this day. You can pay hundreds of dollars to take these same classes that Joe McGonigal took in order to leave your body and remote view outside of your body. You can also find these classes online for free.
Oh,
in
I could use a
MP3
vacation.
format. Say that again?
I could use a vacation.
You could use a vacation out of your body.
Yeah. However, I
Basically, the Monroe Institute would use these weird little tones,
Mm-hmm.
and the tones were supposed to sync the two hemispheres of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And once your two hemispheres were synced, it would go through this kind of guided meditation in which it taught you how to leave your body and coach yourself in energy so that it could protect you from the dangers around you. And the guided meditations, the tones and the guided meditation sounded like this. Tell me if this makes you leave your body.
This is the first step along your path to a gateway.
Did you leave your body?
No.
So there's a lot of conspiracy theorists. Do you remember getting pulled out of class and taking a hearing test where it said, if you hear the
Yes.
beep, raise this hand. If you hear the beep, raise this hand.
Yes.
There's a lot of conspiracy theorists that say that they didn't hear those beeps. They heard that tone that I just played. Did you hear the tone that I just played?
Uh-huh.
And they're saying that the government must have been going out and recruiting kids trying to find out which ones could leave their bodies or not.
Oh.
I
So
took
if you
those
hear
hearing
the tone,
tests,
you're
but
gonna leave? Or what? How
my
do they
hearing
know?
test did not sound like that. My hearing test sounded like a little beep in my right ear and a little beep in my left ear. Maybe
Well, no,
some
it
people
did.
some people might be misremembering, but I always love a good conspiracy.
Yes.
So, according to, the Freedom of Information Act makes the government release documents, classified documents upon request after a certain amount of time has expired. And we actually have some CIA documents that have been released about this gateway process. And a certain CIA document that I read said that the document considers the universe to be egg-shaped. And out of the top of the egg, a holographic energy fountain is just kind of coming out of the top of the egg and coming down to coat the outside of the egg and cascading with this holographic energy. You and I are actually sitting on the surface of this holographic energy, coasting along with it, and that is how time progresses. And once it reaches the bottom of the egg, it gets sucked back into the egg's asshole and spit out of the top of the egg to come back down across the surface again. So I don't know if the document's indicating that time is cyclic or not, and if we gotta fucking repeat this bullshit over and over again, or if somebody else has to go through this next time around.
They
I'm
say
not
history
100%.
repeats itself, so
In fact, on this podcast, we've always said that history doesn't always repeat itself, but it does echo.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. Okay. Yes, it does. So I think that things are cyclic.
You think things are cyclic? It probably is.
I think so. It seems to be. I mean, if you look back, especially with, well, yeah, no. If you look back, you'll see
You
that
sound
they
like
were
you had an awesome
successful
point to
in
make.
the Nazis. Well, isn't the whole OSS, weren't they doing what the Nazis basically did? Was turning people against each other, and then they had the kids that would rat out the parents, and la 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 la. The Hitler Youth and blah. Can we talk about Hitler here? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of this podcast is we can say whatever the fuck we want, so yeah, go ahead.
I mean, so it kind of just sounds like our government adopted the same thing the Nazis had been doing. Well, they brought a whole lot of those Nazi doctors over here.
Yeah, you know what
continue on
Operation
with their fucking shit.
You know what Operation Paperclip is, right?
Yes.
Once we defeated the Nazis in World War II, we took their top scientists, and that's how we created NASA. NASA was originated by a bunch of Nazi rocket scientists.
Oh, I guess that's why Russia was wanting to compete with us. That makes sense. Well, I mean, so our government has been corrupt for a long ass time.
So at least since the 50s.
Yeah, and I thought JFK was popular. I guess he wasn't popular with the CIA.
Well,
I mean, okay, so the CIA was trying to kill Castro because JFK thought it would make him look better to our public.
it was not JFK. The whole Bay of Pigs, JFK did not want to do the Bay of Pigs. The CIA convinced him that the Bay of Pigs was a good idea.
And that's why the CIA took out JFK, is because he just fought him too much on what they wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So they just had to kill him.
One of the last statements JFK made was he wishes he could take the CIA and splinter it into 1,000 pieces. And 1 month to the day from that statement is when he got shot in the head in Dallas.
Oh, goddamn.
But I digress. We were talking about the gateway process.
Yes.
The gateway process, according to this leaked CIA not leaked, but released from the Freedom of Information Act, once you sync the two hemispheres of your brain, you can click out of this reality and then travel along the surface of this holographic energy that's cascading down the universe egg. And you can like go around and observe other people, observe the enemy, observe whatever you want, and without using a body. There's 12 different stages. Because I went and I put these on a little MP3 player and I tried them out in my head, seeing if I could leave my body. And there's 12 focuses. Focus 1, focus 2, all the way to focus 12. And once you're focus 12 is when you can do all this shit. But starting at focus 3 is when you're supposed to be able to start leaving your body. So I did focus 1, I did focus 2. When I got to focus 3, I was never actually able to leave my body. So I said, well, maybe I did something wrong. So I started at focus 1 again, went through focus 2 again, went through focus 3 again, and I still couldn't leave my body. So I don't even know where the MP3 player is. I tossed it away because it's fucking useless. I wasn't able to do anything. But according to the guided meditation, you're supposed to coat your body with energy so that the evil things that are roaming around, once you click out of this reality, can't get to you. And Joe McGonigal himself had this experience where he left his body. He said there was evil things. There was something evil in the room with him. And when he turned around, it was his own body that he was looking at.
Ooh, that's deep.
That is deep.
That's deep. So he was the evil in the room.
He was evil. His body was evil in the room. And his clicked out soul, or whatever you want to call it, was good, I guess. I don't know.
Huh.
In 1995, the Stargate program was moved from the Department of Defense into the CIA. The CIA took a look at it and immediately scrapped it because it was unreliable. I guess you can't depend on something that's only 79% accurate.
I'm surprised maybe they just said they scrapped it and they're still secretly doing it. Maybe you should have just kept on. Send me the link. I'm going to try it.
Okay,
I'll send you. Maybe 4 would have been. Maybe you're just slow.
What? I will send you the link. You can do the focus. You can do the focuses.
I'll do it all. And I mean, maybe you should have just went to 4 or 5, and that's all.
I might have. 3 was fucked up, and I should have just skipped to 4, and 4 I could have gotten out of there.
Go through all of it, but instead of going back to 1, 2, 3, you'd go on to 4. Maybe you just need a little more time to process.
I'm going to send you the link. I need you to go through them. I need you to report back to this podcast once you leave your body.
Yes, hopefully I can demonstrate.
In fact, I don't want you sitting there on the other side of this screen. I want you sitting right here in this other chair with your imaginary body, with your out-of-body experience, and do the podcast from this chair in your... once you've escaped your corporeal form.
Oh, that would be exciting.
I have a bonus.
Okay, so what happened to this dude?
Say that again.
What happened to this dude? Joe McGonigal.
He goes on podcasts and talks about his experience, which is...
He's still alive.
He's still alive.
That's
no. He's dead now.
Oh, okay.
He's dead now. But he was alive until... I don't know when he died, but...
There were podcasts.
2013. Yeah, there were podcasts.
Oh, okay.
So a couple years ago... No, what are we, 25?
Mm-hmm.
So probably like 3 years ago.
Oh, 2020.
But he was an old-ass man.
Oh, shit. So could he still leave his body to the end?
He claimed that he could. I mean, he didn't do anything on the pod. I only listened to one podcast with him. And he was just talking about all the shit he went through. He didn't, like, demonstrate on the podcast that he could leave his body. He just talked about all these experiences he had leading up to this. And then he retired from the military.
So what was the furthest he traveled out of his body?
They one of the things that he talked about on the podcast, and this was all in the training, they they were working on something in a CIA laboratory, or I don't Department of Defense laboratory, where they had something they were building, and it was shielded in a metal thing. So they didn't even tell him where it was. They said, I need you to, here's a picture of the place. I need you to find it. I need you to tell me what's in this metal thing. So he left his body. He went and stuck his face in the metal thing, and then he drew what he saw. And then the government officials came to him the next day, and they told him, where the fuck did you learn experimental physics? And he said, I've never had an experimental class in my life. And they were like, okay, where do you check out your library books? So he had to give him his library card, and they went, I guess he had 2 library cards or 2 different libraries. They went through his library history to make sure that he hadn't never checked out a physics book, because they were convinced that by what he drew, he had expertise in experimental physics. He doesn't know what he was looking at. He just drew what he was looking at. But apparently it was accurate to whatever was in that metal case in some Department of Defense laboratory.
Does he remember what now? I mean, could he draw it again?
He, the podcast showed like his different drawings, and I don't want to go back and listen to the podcast again to find the drawing, but
okay, I'll just look it up myself. I mean, that is interesting. That, I mean, so it was controlled. Was he always with like a handler when he would leave his body, or would he just
yes, he had a government.
About?
No, he had a government. In all the cases where he was doing it for the government, he had government officials there with him,
handlers,
and then government officials somewhere else. Like one time, they just told him, "Okay, find this agent." They showed him a picture of him, and then he said he's sitting at the top of some building, smoking a cigar and looking out the window. And the guy he was looking for was sitting in an office at the top of a building, smoking a cigar and looking out the window. And but then again, there are 44 recorded cases, and only 35 of them, or 30 something of them were accurate.
30 something or 30 something percent?
God damn it, let me go back to the slide.
I think it was 30 something percent. 30 something out of 40 something is pretty damn good stats.
44, he has 44 on camera demonstrations, 35 are accurate. So 35 times he was able to say, this is what's inside the metal case, and draw it accurately. 35 times he was saying, this is your government agent sitting in an office building smoking a cigar. And then the other times, the 13 times, I guess, if my math is accurate, or 11 times, if the math is accurate, he was off. He couldn't accurately describe it.
Well, I'm sorry, babe. Those stats are pretty good.
I mean, 79 is a passing grade.
No, 35,
I was proud of the 79 in college.
35 out of 44 is more than 79.
Yes. That's 79% accuracy. That's what I told you.
Oh, I guess your numbers are smaller. Okay. I can't do math in my head right now. I don't, yeah. Babe, it just seems like it would be... Oh, well, yeah, that's more than 75%. Shut up. I don't know. You would think...
Anyway.
They paid $20 million for a fucking cat. You would think that with that 35 out of 44 times he was right, you would think that they would continue to waste the money on it.
They spent millions and millions of dollars until 1995, when it was transferred from the Department of Defense to the fucking CIA, and the CIA said, fuck this shit. It's a bunch of mumbo jumbo bullshit. I don't know what to tell you. I'm telling you the facts that I know. So, yeah, he would, like, after he retired from the military, he went on podcasts. The last one I saw was the Sean Ryan podcast, and he went through his whole life story, through all this bullshit that he did, and he retired from the military with an honorable discharge. They didn't kick him out. He left when he got too old to be in the military. Now he's retired. I think he wrote a book. He wrote an article. I printed the article. he's talking. It's a good article. It was about how determination, focus on details, and something else is important not only in remote viewing but in every aspect of your life. And it was a good read. I'll put a link to the article in the podcast,
No, that'd be good.
and I will send you the goddamn link to the gateway process. And I want you to take focus 1 through 4 and come back and tell me if you can leave your body.
Well, you don't think I could do them all 12 by then? I mean, how long
Do
does-
all 12. I
wanna
couldn't leave my body. Is all I'm telling you.
I want to do this because that would be fun, and then I could go do all kinds of things and then plead ignorance because my body wasn't there. So, yeah, how could I do
I don't
that?
think he had control where he could like knock something over. He could just view it.
Oh, well.
Like when he stuck his face in the metal shielding, he could view what was inside. He couldn't tinker with what's inside. He could just view
See
it and then draw what he saw.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, it's like, fly on the wall. I wonder if he could hear too.
He could hear too, yes.
Oh, well, see, that's the power of invisibility. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah. I mean, every teenager wants to go into the girls' locker room, and now you don't even have to leave your body. You just pretend like you're transgender, and the school encourages you to go into the girls' locker room.
Exactly. You just identify. You don't want to go in there. Girls aren't very clean. I mean, it's not any better than the boys' locker room. Ugh. I didn't like the
it's
locker
worse. No, it's better than the boys' locker room. The boys' locker room is nasty. I guarantee you the girls' locker room is nicer than the boys' locker room. I will bet you $100.
I don't
We
know
have
if
no
it's-
way. Only you can do this when you learn how to remote view, because I'm not going to go walk into a girl's locker room. But once you learn how to remote view, you tell me if boys' locker rooms or girl locker room are cleaner.
I go check it out. All I know is I've been in the bathroom in a strip club, and I've seen what it looks like, and it ain't pretty. You just turn around and
Darling,
walk
that's a
out.
strip club. Those are the nastiest hoes that you can find.
Yeah, you want to use the men's room, maybe use the parking lot, just hold it. I don't know. You don't want to use the bathroom. I never suited up for PE. I always took that L and just moved on. So
That is great advice. That is great advice.
don't suit up for PE. Just take the L. That's what my kid did too. She followed. Well, no, you don't have to take the L anymore. You can be a trainer and get out of PE. So you could do. Well, that's in high school, not in middle school. Middle school, you just have to take the L.
I have a bonus that says nothing to do with the CIA,
Oh yeah.
but it's still some fucked up shit the government did.
Oh okay. Let's hear it.
In 1949, the United States government fed radioactive oatmeal to retarded children. It was called the MIT Science Club for Children, and it was funded by the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. So, Quaker Oats, the guy with the...
I just had some for breakfast. So
Back in the day, they were big money because in 1949, people loved their oatmeal. So, there was a campaign by a rival saying that you were not able to get enough iron or calcium for your oatmeal because oatmeal has a naturally occurring cyclic acid that inhibits absorption. So Quaker Oats went to the government and said, we need to prove that oatmeal, you can absorb iron and calcium from oatmeal. And the government said, okay, we're going to tag some calcium and iron with a radioactive isotope. And we're going to feed it to retarded children and watch as the calcium and iron gets absorbed. Good news, calcium and iron is still absorbed in your body after eating oatmeal. So oatmeal is actually still healthy for you.
yay!
And we proved it by feeding radioactive oatmeal to retarded children. However, once the Freedom of Information Act kicked in and those documents were released in 1995, there was a huge lawsuit against the government. And that lawsuit is the reason why we have consent forms today. You're no longer allowed to just feed things to people without them knowing what's in it. You have to get consent from them now.
Well, you would think that Tuskegee experiment would have been the reason why there were consent forms, because that was pretty bad.
The Tuskegee affair. What?
Experiment.
Go ahead and tell the. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
where they were injecting African Americans with syphilis.
Syphilis.
And syphilis is still very prevalent in the black community to this day, thanks to our government. Thank you, government. And it's also another reason why the blacks don't want to take vaccines. And I can't say that I blame them, because our government's been trying to kill them for a minute. And, they just won't die. Not that okay, I don't want them to. I'm not saying that. I'm saying our government, and everybody knows this. So the government has used them for guinea pigs along with the Native Americans.
Yeah.
So to think that they wouldn't do it to us, me and you, they don't give a shit about us. They don't know us.
No.
We're just another number to them. So why wouldn't they? They need
guinea pigs.
Yes, they need a good test source, and that's what we are. We're here to work and pay taxes and die and be guinea pigs for the government.
Yep. They injected perfectly good airline pilots, entire battalion of African American airline pilots with syphilis, just to see how syphilis acts in the human body. No other reason. We just want to know, how does syphilis act?
But when they were doing that experiment, when was that again? Wasn't
probably in the 40s, probably in the same time that they did this experiment.
Okay, so when did Capone die?
When did who die?
When did Al Capone die? Because he had syphilis.
He had syphilis also? He didn't get it by fucking some rank hoe? He got it from the government?
I don't know that he got it from the government. He got it from whores, but he had syphilis. Yeah. So there had been enough people that had syphilis that they already knew how it acted in the body. They didn't have to inject those poor airmen with that.
Yeah, but it wasn't controlled. It's not controlled. You can't check out Al Capone's health before syphilis and then check out Al Capone's health after syphilis. You just know that he had syphilis. With these people, they could run tests on them before they injected them with syphilis and say, hey, line up, we're going to inject you. And all the airmen say, okay. Because back in the day, they didn't even use individual syringes. They had this gun. And the soldiers and airmen would just line up. They'd just bat, bat, bat. Not even cleaning the gun in between them. So even if somebody had hepatitis or something, you're sitting there giving hepatitis to the entire crew,
Okay, so how many people got AIDS out of that?
Oh, I don't know.
Probably none. Because AIDS wasn't a thing back then.
No. AIDS hit in the 80s.
Yes, but then how did it get here? Somebody dude fucked a monkey? No.
Yeah.
No, some dude didn't go to Africa and fuck a monkey. That's not how that happened.
Well, that's what they say. That's how it's happened. Yeah, but that's also how they said COVID came from eating a bat. So and that turned out not to be true.
No, people weren't eating bat. Well, people probably do eat bats, but they didn't get COVID from eating the bat. No. And they didn't get AIDS from eating the monkey. And if nobody got AIDS from sharing needles back then, when there weren't condoms weren't as prevalent, there weren't.
That's true.
I mean, if AIDS was a thing, then somebody should have got it back then with the way they did that. And
but AIDS wasn't a thing till the 80s.
Yeah, because Fauci made it. Well,
he
was working for them at that time, and I think he was doing the AIDS research.
There's a book by RFK talking about the real Fauci, and the whole book is about the AIDS epidemic in Africa and how Fauci promoted one specific AIDS medication that turned out that it didn't really help with AIDS, and it kind of just made him sicker. TZD, what is that? TZD?
Oh, yeah, that was one of the AZT. It was AZT. That was one of the first AIDS medications.
AZT. That's the one that didn't do shit, but it made people sicker, and that's the one that Fauci promoted in Africa.
And so again, Fauci is using African Americans, or no, sorry, they are Africans. He's using black people with black skin. He's using them as guinea pigs.
Yep.
And so why would anybody want to listen to somebody like? And he did that working for our government, so our government instructed him to do that.
Yes.
So why would these people trust our government? They shouldn't.
I
And
don't.
anybody that is forcing these people to trust our government obviously doesn't want anything good for those people.
Or just is ignorant of the history of the things that our government has done.
Yes, and there seems to, looking back at the AIDS thing from knowing what we know now, it's like, I was in high school, so what the fuck did we know? Ha ha ha, somebody fucked a monkey. We're stupid. What do we know? But the fucking adults believe this shit.
Yeah.
I had a hard time I never believed the bat thing. I never believed that. I always believed that came from our government because I already suspected what they've been doing. I mean, how long have they been trying to push this fucking bird flu on us and the swine flu? We've been through both of this with work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know what they're doing. Now they're trying to push measles. Now all of a sudden there's all these free measles vaccination clinics because one kid died with pneumonia and RSV, but he had the measles. Just like they had COVID. They didn't die from COVID. They just might have had it. And we don't even know that they did have it. Fuck. Why you look back on the AIDS thing from with this perspective and you're just like, how the fuck, how did they get away with that? Why were our parents just so stupid and gullible that they believed that they
There's
just
still
bought
people.
that?
There's still people that are stupid and gullible to this day because there's still people that believe it came from a bat, even though it's been proven it came from the Wuhan lab that was researching gain of function in COVID viruses.
And that was being funded by us.
Yes.
I mean, what are they doing at Southwest Research? They are funding what I read anthrax, gain of function with anthrax, and some other things. Ebola.
We're funding that right now?
The last time, it was a few years ago, I think I read that they had, were doing, there was a list of labs throughout the United States and what they were studying, and that one had
gain of function for anthrax?
Ebola, I think. I mean, but, and, yeah.
Who was the one that was mailing anthrax through the mail? That wasn't the Unabomber, right? Or was that somebody else?
No, that wasn't. He was Unabomber. He was mailing bombs. Uncle Ted. The one with. Did they catch that person?
They caught him. It was all in the news.
That was what, in the 90s or the early 2000s? Oh, W was there. Oh, that was the weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction. We have weapons of mass destruction. So yeah, so that was in the early 2000s, and I don't remember who did it.
Yeah, it was
They
somebody.
were mailing it to Republicans, weren't they?
They were mailing it to some government officials. I don't remember the details, but
I just vaguely remember it now that you brought it up. It didn't do anything. I think it was just to push fear. It was probably some plant. I mean, it's just like whenever there's a boogeyman out there, they just jump on it and just beat it to fucking death.
Yeah.
To where it just gets to the point where you have to be a fucking idiot to believe him anymore.
Pretty much.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I guess people need to believe him so they can feel secure. I mean, living with the unknown. I mean, but the fucking shit they were gonna do to Castro with the LSD type agent, it was colorless. You couldn't smell it. You couldn't see it. They could release it into the atmosphere. They can release it into the atmosphere here. They can release it into the water. We don't know what they're doing.
The one that pisses me off so much is when I was a kid, you had to check all the candy that you brought home from Halloween because people were putting drugs in it. And it's like, drugs are fucking expensive.
Razor
People
blades.
are not going to be sharing their drugs with random ass kids just to fucking like create chaos in the world. Fucking that shit costs money. Nobody's sharing their drugs like that.
And who's shoving razor blades in kids' candy? I mean, yes, it was again fear. They were pushing fear because they needed to control us because fear controls us. Look at all the, yeah. It's, I don't know what they're doing next. That they're pushing all these vaccines, they're getting people ramped up again. That they're fixing to do something. And they released something the other day that was saying different ways that they could release vaccines. And one of them was into the water source, and one of them was into the air. And everybody's like, oh, vaccines are good. Oh, vaccines are bad. And nobody's thinking, oh, they could release them in the air.
I had not heard that they could release vaccines in the air.
And
is that something that they're doing now?
They were talking about the different ways for the birds to get the vaccines into the birds. They could do it into the air in their coops. They could do it into the water that they drink. They could do it subcutaneously. They could do it intermuscularly. They could drown the fucking chicken in it. I don't fucking know.
Is this for bird flu? This
yes.
is to prevent bird flu?
Yes, how to get the vaccine into the bird. And so, yeah, two of the ways were via water and via air. And they had the means to do that with the mechanisms. Well, obviously, I mean, they were doing it in the 60s to Castro, so.
Yeah.
Lord knows who else.
Well, I mean, I'm vaccinated. I took the MMR, which is the measles, mumps, rubella. All my kids have the MMR.
Mm-hmm.
They all grew up normally. I believe there's vaccines that are good. I believe there are vaccines that help us live longer and prevent diseases. I do think that they were very overzealous with this gene therapy, the mRNA vaccine, that they had to change the definition of a vaccine to include mRNA. There is a COVID vaccine that works like a old-fashioned vaccine, where you just take the COVID and denature it and then give it. And I've never had that one. That one's hard to find because the one they were promoted were the mRNA ones.
Yeah.
Which I did not take, and I did not allow. Well, no, I took the one and done of the Johnson and Johnson because I was required to, or else I would have gotten fired from my job. But I definitely made sure my kids did not take that one.
Well, that's good. I did not take it. I lost my career. I lost my business. I lost everything. My dad was going to put me on a fucking cattle car and send me to a concentration camp. But I think my mom lost a kidney because of that shot. So.
She had kidney damage?
Yeah. Yeah, they had to remove one of her kidneys. It was no longer functioning. I mean, she's always going to have bladder problems. But it's kind of weird that all of a sudden she just kept getting UTI after UTI after UTI. And it turned out it was her bladder infections.
Was
and
this...
Huh?
The UTIs, did these start before she had the COVID vaccine?
I'm thinking they got really bad after. Because it was after. Yeah, they got bad after because they would go undiagnosed, and so, it affects you mentally. And so then they would take her to the doctor, and they would find out that she had a bladder infection or UTI or whatever. And so she had I don't know, I wasn't told. I found this out from the air conditioner repairman that she was having a lot of hallucinations and a lot of, she wasn't in her right mind, altered mental status, whatnot. Yeah. And so she was in the hospital for about a month at the end of 23, I guess. Yeah. And then I was at the end of 22. I don't know, time flies. 22 or 23, she was in the hospital for about a month. And then either then in 23 or 24, she had a kidney removed. And so she got the COVID vaccines back when they came out with them, and she got all of them. So I'm sure they got the boosters and all that crap. And I'm sure that's one of the reasons why my dad doesn't talk to me anymore, is because he can't be wrong. And, I don't know. He wanted his child, who is immunocompromised, first of all, and also suffers from anaphylaxis from random things. And told me I couldn't be around my family if I didn't get a vaccine. So he was willing to kill his child for his fear.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't leave my house during COVID because I didn't have a job. So I was at home by myself. I didn't go to the grocery store. I didn't do anything. I stayed at home because I couldn't take a shot or I couldn't wear a mask because it sent me into anaphylaxis.
Yeah.
And I mean, my own air threw me into anaphylaxis. That was fucking insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was like, I don't care. I don't care that could kill you. But the potential exists that I could get a really bad cold. And they got it and they lived. But now she doesn't have a kidney. And you will never convince me that it's not from that fucking shot. What the hell is that? So, yeah. So, yeah, I do believe that. I don't know. I don't, yeah. My little
I do have
conspiracy brain
updates.
could go all kinds of places.
You ready to go all kinds of places?
Huh?
What was the last thing you said?
I said my conspiracy brain can go all kinds of places.
Yeah, and that's the problem with conspiracies, is some of them come true and some of them are just like kind of crazy. And you can't tell the difference between the two. Because it's so hard in this world nowadays to figure out what's real and what's not with all the lies that are being perpetuated through corporate-owned media, the 24-hour news channels, who only exist to keep you angry and afraid because, at best, they're trying to increase their ratings because being angry and afraid will make you watch a 24-hour news channel 24 hours. And, you know, that's at best. At worst, they're literally trying to promote lies for conspiracy reasons.
I do not understand why people want to be angry or afraid. I quit watching the news in 2020.
Yeah.
Maybe even before. I don't know. It might have been when Trump was still in. I don't know. I quit watching the news because I was tired of being angry. I was tired of the fear mongering. I just and what they were saying was not 100% the truth. They were exaggerating. It wasn't. It was bits of truth, and bits and more of it was exaggeration and it's sensationalized. Because that's what people turn into, but I don't know why. Because I don't know. You're not happy when you're angry, and you're not happy when you're afraid. So why do you want to put yourself into that state?
Well, every good lie has a kernel of truth in it. A lie is not believable unless it has a kernel of truth. But then you build the lie around the kernel of truth.
Yes.
And people can point to the kernel of truth and say, well, that part's true. Well, of course that part's true. But like all the shit that you build around it isn't necessarily true.
Yes.
You know? I don't think people are doing it because they want to be angry and afraid. I think they're doing it because they think they need to know what's going on to be informed, but they're not being informed.
Because
Denzel
they're not
Washington.
thinking. They're letting somebody else think for them. They are trusting somebody else to put those thoughts into their heads instead of looking at the information and coming up with the thought themselves.
Yeah.
The news people are telling us how we should feel instead of just telling us what the fucking news is.
Amen.
They're telling us the news in an emotional way to evict emotion, to get us to react on an emotional level because we don't think rationally when we're being emotional. I don't.
Denzel Washington had a really great quote. He said, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspaper, you're misinformed. And I think that's kind of where we're at as a society right now. You know, you can either be uninformed or you can be misinformed. And it's really hard to just find the truth in all this fire hydrant of misinformation shooting out from every point, every access that we have.
Yeah, because everybody has to put their own spin on it. Before, news was just printed and you put your own spin on it, how your brain deciphered it. And you deciphered it how you leaned or whatever, how you deduced the information. Now the newspaper, it's more editorials than it is news. I used to subscribe to 2 newspapers, read them front cover to cover every day. I loved the newspaper. I loved the paper newspaper. I don't like reading on the computer. But yeah, no, I can't do that now because it's like they're withholding important stuff and they're shoving just what they want us to know, you know? And yeah, I don't need for them to decide what I should know about and what I don't need to know about.
I do have some updates from the last podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Released. Yeah.
Oh,
Everybody's favorite bipolar woman, Onijah Robinson. She, if you'll remember the last podcast, she was in Pakistan, like being sensational, and they adopted her. They loved her. Our American daughter-in-law, our American sister-in-law is saying crazy shit. We love it. And she was always trying to get to Dubai. And unfortunately, Onijah Robinson did make it to Dubai. Let's watch this video right now.
If you don't do something, I'm gonna burn your face. And let's see if you touch me out here in the streets. I'm dead ass. I'm not playing. I swear to God. Make a decision.
As you can see from the video, she threatened to burn somebody with their cigarette because they were not doing what she wanted them to do. Onijah Robinson made it to Dubai. She then made it onto a plane to go back to New York City, which is where she's from. 2 undercover Dubai police officers went undercover as stewards on the airline, and when they found Onijah, they escorted her off the plane and arrested her. We still don't know what has happened to Onijah. We do know that threatening physical harm to another human being in Dubai is a 3-year prison sentence if she's found guilty. And there's video evidence of her threatening another human being with a cigarette, saying that she was going to burn their face for not doing whatever it is that she wanted to do. So I don't know if she's had a trial. I don't know how trials work in Dubai, but I do know if she's found guilty of what there's video evidence of her doing, that's a 3-year prison sentence in Dubai. If she's doing what she was doing in Pakistan she was going, I'm demanding $100,000 from the Pakistani government. I'm going to make Pakistan great again. I'm going to buy real estate. I'm going to fix all this shit. In Dubai, all charities have to be approved by the government. If you're collecting money for a non-government approved charity, it's considered a scam. So what she's doing in Pakistan is considered a scam in Dubai. If she did it, I don't know that she did it in Dubai, but if she was doing the same shit she was doing in Pakistan, that's an additional 2 years. So she could face 5 years of prison in Dubai. Also, what she was doing, what I'm doing right now, what you're doing over there, smoking in public, is a $5,000 dirham fine, which is $1,200 in American money.
holy shit.
That's another fine. But that's the least of her worries, because she's facing at least a 3-year prison sentence. So
That is crazy.
that is crazy.
Is that
And she's obviously mentally unstable, so I'm not fully sure she's fully aware of what she's doing when she's doing it.
what kind of government do they have in Dubai?
It's not it's a royalty. They have a king. They have a
That's what I
king and
thought.
princess. Yeah. So it's not a democracy here like where you have rights. You don't really have rights in Dubai.
And their religion is what?
Muslim. They're Muslim.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're not real friendly.
But she was claiming to be Muslim. Well, I don't know if she's converted.
Oh God, I would think that would be like a death penalty.
Even worse, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
if you're claiming to be something that you're not. No.
Yeah.
No, religions don't play that way. You don't get to
Yeah,
pretend
they don't
to
play
be
that
Muslim.
shit.
I don't identify as Muslim. They'll off with your head.
Yeah.
They'll
They'll play that shit.
Yeah, no, they don't. So she may have just been. We may never hear from her again.
Well, maybe we'll hear from her hopefully in 3 years when she gets out.
Maybe I can leave my body and go check on her. I think I'll do that. I will focus for good.
That's step number 1. No, step number 1 is you come do this out of body in this chair over here. Step number 2, you go to Dubai and find out what happened to Anijah.
Oh, well, maybe I'll go and then I can tell you from there how she's doing.
There you go.
Stick my face into the asshole of the egg and see how she's doing. Gotta do what I gotta do.
That's going to be a viral moment when you stick your face in the asshole of the egg.
The asshole of the egg. That'll be interesting. Maybe we could be the first people to have an out-of-body experience.
Yeah. We also have an update on the Zizians that we talked about in our last podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Ziz Lasota, Michelle Jamie Zachko, and Daniel Blank have all been arrested. You'll remember Ziz is the ringleader of the Zizian cult. Jamie, all these people are transgender, and I don't have a transgender name for Daniel Blank. I couldn't find it in any of the articles I read, but they were all arrested in Frostburg, Maryland on the Sunday after our podcast released. So 2 days later, after we talked about the Zizian podcast, the Zizian cult on the podcast, they arrested them because they pulled their 2 little box trucks that they had on Mr. Lynn's property, the one that they murdered. They took those box trucks to Maryland and parked it on a property and tried to rent the property again to live on the property in their box trucks. Now, the owner of the property immediately reported them to the police because they looked very suspicious. And when the cops showed up in Frostburg, Maryland, they found guns on the cult members and in the trucks of the cult members. So they immediately arrested those 3. So they are charged without bond. I don't know what they're charged with yet, but the judge has decided that they're all flight risks, so they cannot be bonded out.
Oh,
they have to. Exactly. They're all going to have to face justice, whatever charges they eventually charge them with.
Oh,
You'll remember that Jamie is the one who's a person of interest in her parents' murder. And Daniel Blank and Ziz were the 2 in the motel room next to Jamie's motel room when the cops raided her motel room, but she was not there. But Ziz and Daniel Blank were in the motel room next door, and that's when Ziz played possum. He just laid down and closed his eyes, refused to talk, refused to open his eyes. He just played catatonic. So they were unable to charge him there. But he's got gun charges now in Maryland. So at least he's going to face justice for that. Hopefully more.
Oh, good. Get them transsexual, violent people off the streets.
The extreme vegan transgender death cult.
He's a gecko?
Is what the Zizians are. So as a running total, Ziz, Jamie, Daniel Blank are all in jail starting in February 2016. Suri and Somni, the people that are charged with attempted murder of Curtis Lynn and murder of their compatriot Emma, who Curtis Lynn shot when they were trying to kill him. They're charged with his murder, Emma's murder, because if they hadn't attempted to murder Curtis Lynn, Emma would not have died.
Yes.
So they're all in jail. Bentley, who is the one that slit Curtis Lynn's throat, he's in jail.
Oh, good.
And Milo, the one who is responsible for the death of Malin, the Border Patrol agent, she's also in jail. You remember that Bentley and Milo are the ones that are in the heterosexual relationship with extra steps because they both present as a gender opposite of their own, yet they still have that heterosexual relationship. All those people are in jail. The only one that's still on the run is Gwen, who is the OG co-founder with Ziz of the cult. He's still at large. So who knows if Gwen will ever face justice.
Now, is he a boy or a girl?
Gwen is a boy. transgender, presenting as a girl. That's why he calls himself Gwen.
Okay, so he's a girl with a beard.
He's a girl with long hair and
A beard.
probably can't grow a beard because he's in his 20s.
I don't know. Some of those dudes could grow some good beards.
Some of those dudes can grow beards, but all the pictures I saw of him, he was clean shaved with the long hair, but still looking very much like a man.
Oh.
So most of the cult's in jail, which is good news, except for Gwen. We'll see if Gwen ever gets caught.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Do you have any closing thoughts? This podcast is drug on and on.
No, I'm good.
I'm good too. This was a good one. I had fun. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. Let's
It was
see.
joy.
Next time, maybe we won't have this crazy wind distracting.
Yeah. How did my mic sound? Did you hear all the wind in the background? Because it was blowing like crazy.
I really didn't. The only when you saw me like lean in, that's when I could kind of not hear, or I was struggling to hear. But for the most part, I heard you fine.
Was it from my end or from your end?
And it was from your end. Like I couldn't
The
hear
wind.
you as well. Yeah,
Okay.
you would just get
Okay.
softer.
Okay. Well, we'll have commenters telling us how shitty the sound quality was.
Oh,
'Cause-
did people actually watch it?
Yes, we've got 89 subscribers, and we've had people. When I did a recipe episode where I cooked my white boy enchiladas. This was before I started the podcast. This was during COVID when I was just bored, so I was in my kitchen cooking white boy enchiladas, and I released it. And some commenter said, "What was this filmed on? A toaster?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's filmed on the Toaster Pro 16." Thanks, buddy.
That's funny.
But all right.
Okay, next
Well-
time I think we should talk about weather manipulation.
Talk about what?
Weather manipulation.
Okay.
Or what do you want to talk about?
Well, I don't want this podcast to just be a government conspiracy podcast. I like to be a general topic podcast.
Oh, okay.
Things of interest. We can talk if you want to do research on weather manipulation and come back with receipts. We can. I'd rather like put in like a little true crimes because true crime episodes always do good. So we'll play it by ear. I don't want to only be a conspiracy theory podcast because that's
There's
boring
enough
even
of
to me.
those.
There's enough of those. I like to talk about them when they're interesting, but I don't want to only be that. You know
Weather
what I'm saying?
manipulation is interesting because we've had some really strange weather lately.
That's going to be if you can't leave your body. I want you to do some research on weather manipulation, and we'll come back and we'll do an episode on weather manipulation.
Well, I'll try to leave my body first. That's the first thing I'll do whatever on, and then I'll see if there's any interesting stories between now and whenever.
Next time we record,
Yes. Well, I guess we have to have something to talk about before next time.
we have to what?
Have something to talk about before next time.
We need to have something to talk about before next time because the episodes that did poorly were the ones where me and my old co-hosts were just sitting here going, "How was your day? How was your week? How was your week?" It's boring as shit. Nobody wants to hear about that. But if we can talk about something interesting, I would love that.
Okay. Well, we need to find something interesting to talk about.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for being on, and we'll be back next time we have something interesting to talk about.
Sounds good. Keep me posted.
Yes,
If I
ma'am.
think of something, I'll hit you up. Have a
Bye.
good day. Don't get blown away.
I'll try.
Bye.